Good morning, Birmingham Unitarian Church. Good morning. Welcome to all, whether you're visiting us for the first time or have been here many times before. Whether you're joining us here in the sanctuary, remotely via Zoom, or watching this recording later, it's good to connect with you. Today, children will be with us in the sanctuary to hear a story before heading to their activities of the morning. The family room, just to the left at the back of the sanctuary, with audio of the service piped in, is open for parents and children. Care is also available in the nursery for infants and children through age 5, and the nursery is in the green door room this week. By greeting our virtual neighbors, we build a bridge between online and in-person participants. First, we'll project on our screen the image of folks who are currently on Zoom, and if you're comfortable doing so, please turn on your cameras and give us a wave. Now we who are gathered here in person are invited to turn to face the camera in the back of the sanctuary and give the folks on Zoom a wave. If you're with us in person today, we invite you to join us after the service for coffee and conversation in Hodis Hall, which is located to the left after you exit the sanctuary. Our newcomer table is a place where visitors and newcomers can meet and chat with members of the congregation and with each other. Just look for the colorful sign, and all are encouraged to drop by there. And if you're with us on Zoom, we invite you to stay on the call for a virtual coffee hour immediately after service ends. Whenever and however we connect with BUC, we are building this beloved community.
The campus of Birmingham Unitarian Church occupies the ancestral, traditional, and contemporary lands of the Anishinaabe Council of Three Fires, Ojibwe, Ottawa, and Potawatomi peoples. Bloomfield Hills is situated on land ceded in the 1807 Treaty of Detroit. We acknowledge Michigan's 12 federally recognized Native nations, as well as historic indigenous communities in Michigan. We also acknowledge those who were forcibly removed from their homelands, as well as indigenous individuals and communities who live here now. We affirm indigenous sovereignty, history, and experiences.
Good morning. We light this chalice this morning to the words of a poem Web by Denise Levertov. Intricate and untraceable, weaving and interweaving, dark strand with light, designed beyond all spiderly contrivance to link, not to entrap. Elation, grief, joy, contrition, entwined, shaking, changing, forever forming, transforming. All praise to the great web.
Please rise in body or spirit and join us in singing hymn number 38, which is in the gray hymnal, Morning Has Broken.
Praise for the singing, praise for I invite you to be open and wonder about the true nature and essence of the NDE phenomenon and its impact on an individual's orientation to living life. Our story for today is The Fall of Freddie the Leaf by Leo Buscaglia. Spring had passed, so had summer. Freddie the leaf had grown large. His midsection was wide and strong, and his 5 extensions were firm and pointed. He had first appeared in spring as a small sprout on a rather large branch near the top of a tall tree. Freddie was surrounded by hundreds of other leaves, just like himself. Well, or so it seemed, because soon he discovered that no 2 leaves were alike, even though they were on the same tree. Now, Alfred was the leaf next to him. Ben was the leaf on his right side, and Claire, oh, she was the lovely leaf overhead. They had all grown up together, and they had learned to dance in the spring breezes, to bask lazily in the summer sun, and to wash off in the cooling rains. But it was Daniel who was Freddie's best friend. He was the largest leaf on the limb. He seemed to have been there before everybody else. It appeared to Freddie that Daniel was the wisest of them all. Now, it was Daniel who told them they were part of a tree. It was Daniel who explained that they were growing in a public park. It was Daniel who told them that the tree had strong roots which were hidden in the ground below. He explained that the birds who came to sit on their branch and sing morning songs. He explained about the sun, the moon, the stars, the seasons. Freddie loved being a leaf. He loved his branch, his light leafy friends, his place high in the sky, and the wind that jostled them, the sun rays that warmed them, and the moon that covered him with soft white shadows. Now, summer, oh, that had been especially nice. The long, hot days felt good, and the warm nights were peaceful and dreamy. Now, that summer, there were many people in the park. They came and they sat under Freddie's tree. Daniel told him that giving shade was part of his purpose. Oh, what's a purpose? Freddie asked. It's a reason for being, Daniel answered. To make things more pleasant for others is a reason for being. To make shade for old people who come to escape the heat of their homes, well, that's a reason for being. To provide a cool place for children to come and play. To fan with our leaves the picnicker who comes to eat on checkered tablecloths. These are all reasons for being. Well, Freddie especially liked the old people. They sat so quietly on the cool grass. They hardly ever moved. They talked in whispers of times past. Now, the children, oh, they were fun too. Even though sometimes they tore holes in the bark of the tree or carved their names into the tree trunk. Still, it was fun to watch them move so fast, and they always laughed so much. But Freddie's summer soon passed. It vanished on an October night. He had never felt it so cold. All the leaves shivered with the cold. They were coated with a thin layer of white. It quickly melted, and then it left them dew-drenched and sparkling in the morning sun. Again, it was Daniel who explained that they had experienced the first frost, the sign that it was fall and that winter would come soon. Almost at once, the whole tree, in fact, the whole park, was transformed into a blaze of color. There was hardly a green leaf left. Alfred had turned a deep yellow. Ben had turned bright orange. Claire had become a blazing red. Daniel, a deep purple, and Freddie, he was red and gold and bluish. How beautiful they all looked. Freddie and his friends had turned the tree into a rainbow. Why do we turn different colors? Freddie asked. When we're all on the same tree. Each of us is different. We've had different experiences. We've faced the sun differently. We've cast shade differently. Why should we not have different colors? Daniel said, matter-of-factly. Daniel told Freddie that this wonderful season was called fall. Now, one day, a very strange thing happened. The same breezes that in the past had made them dance began to push and pull at their stems as if they were angry, and this caused some of the leaves to be torn from their branches and swept up by the wind, tossed about, and dropped finally softly to the ground. All the leaves became very frightened. What's happening? They asked each other. Oh, this is what happens in the fall, Daniel said. It's time for the leaves to change their home. Some people call it to die. Will we all die? Freddie asked. Yes, Daniel said. Everything dies, no matter how weak or how strong. We first do our job. We experience the sun and the moon and the wind and the rain, and we learn to dance and to laugh, and then we die. Well, I won't die, said Freddie with determination. Will you, Daniel? Oh, yes, said Daniel, when it's my time. Well, when is that, said Freddie. Well, no one knows for sure, Daniel responded. Freddie noticed that the other leaves continued to fall, and he thought, it must be their time. He saw that some of the leaves lashed back at the wind before they fell. Others simply let go, and they just dropped quietly. And soon, the tree was almost bare. I'm afraid to die, Freddie told Daniel. I don't know what's down there. Well, we all fear what we don't know, Freddie. It's natural, Daniel reassured him. Yet you weren't afraid when spring became summer, and you were not afraid when summer became fall. Those were natural changes. Why should you be afraid of the season of death? Does the tree die too? Freddie asked. Someday, but there is something stronger than that tree. It is life that lasts forever, and we are all a part of life. Well, where do we go when we die? No one knows for sure. That's the great mystery. Well, will we return in the spring? We may not, but life will. Well then, what's been the reason for all of this? Freddie continued to question. Why were we here at all if we only have to fall and die? Daniel answered in his matter-of-fact way, "It's been about the sun and the moon. It's been about the happy times together. It's about the shade and the old people and the children. It's been about the colors in the fall. It's been about seasons. Isn't that enough?" And that afternoon, in the golden light of dusk, Daniel let go. He fell effortlessly. It's as if he seemed to smile peacefully as he fell. "Goodbye for now, Freddie," he said. And then Freddie was alone. He was the only leaf left on the branch. The first snow fell the following morning. It was soft and white and gentle, but it was bitter cold. There was hardly any sun that day, and the day was very short. Freddie found himself losing his color, becoming brittle. It was constantly cold, and the snow weighed heavily on him. And at dawn, the wind came, and it took Freddie from his branch. It didn't hurt at all. He felt himself float quietly, gently, softly downward. And as he fell, he saw the tree, the whole tree, for the first time. How strong and firm it was. He was sure it would live for a long time, and he knew that he had been a part of its life, and it made him proud. Freddie landed on a clump of snow. It somehow felt soft, even a little warm. And in this new position, he was more comfortable than he had ever been. He closed his eyes and fell asleep. He did not know that spring would follow winter and that the snow would melt into water. He did not know that what appeared to be his useless, dried self would join the water, and together they would make the tree stronger. Most of all, he did not know that there, asleep in the tree and the ground, were already plans for new leaves in the spring.
The mission of Birmingham Unitarian Church is to be a free and welcoming religious community that lives lives of integrity, learning, service, and joy. One way we live out this mission is by giving half of our weekly offering to a nonprofit organization that shares our values and addresses needs in our community. The recipient of our plate sharing through July today is the Ruth Ellis Center in Highland Park. Named in honor of a resilient Detroit icon, Ruth Ellis Center works to create a supportive environment and community for LGBTQ+ youth and is known for unique approaches to provide outreach and safety net services, skill building workshops, and HIV prevention programs. From housing and healthcare to education and advocacy, Ruth Ellis Center provides a safe place where every young person can thrive. The ushers will now come to receive this morning's offering, which is given and received in a spirit of generosity and gratitude. With gratitude, we dedicate this offering to the good work of our congregation and the Ruth Ellis Center.
Vitality by Emily Dickerson. A death blow is a life to some, who, till they died, did not alive become. Who, had they lived, had not died, but when they died, vitality begun. We hold each other in our hearts and minds with all our joys and all our sorrows. Today there are no written joys and sorrows from the congregation, but we share this morning in our own thoughts and remembering. We remember those experiencing losses and those facing health challenges. We pray, in whatever way we pray, for those affected by war, by hatred, and by violence. We pray for peace. The cares of the world are many. Even when the cares of the world weigh on us, may we find joy in our connections with each other and in the pleasures that life holds. Let us take care of one another and ourselves in all the ways we can. Let us make this safe. and a welcoming place for all. As we hold each other in our hearts and minds with all our joys and all our sorrows, let's take a moment to be quiet together. Please join together in singing, "Blessed Spirit of My Life." Before I share the reading, I will share the joys and sorrows that were submitted today. Joy from Jess Newman and Kevin Kozlowski. After a long 6-month gap with no activities, Stella's third tooth finally came in. And from Mike Mansour, last Sunday, my wife and I attended a Methodist church in Manistee where my grandparents were married in 1900, 125 years ago. How lovely. And the reading is a personal reflection by Albert Einstein that was recalled by Dr. M. Sabam. Everyone who is seriously involved in the pursuit of science becomes convinced that a spirit is manifest in the laws of the universe. A spirit vastly superior to that of man or woman, and one in the face of which we, with our modest power, must feel humble. You find peace not by rearranging the circumstances of your life, but by realizing you are at the deepest level, you are life. So good morning, my dear friends and fellow BUCers and any of our visitors. I'm delighted to be with you this morning to share a topic that continues to intrigue and guide me still, the meaning of a near-death experience. In the fall of '92, I had the opportunity to research and write a dissertation completing the requirements for my PhD in clinical psychology. But now the question, what would it be? What life experience did I want deeper understandings and a broader psychological perspective for myself and for others? While doing my dishes one morning, still in the pondering stage, I was watching the Joan Rivers talk show. Her guests were a panel of near-death experiencers and Dr. Raymond Moody, the author of Life After Life. Each panel member discussed their unique story of having a medically documented near-death experience prior to revival. They knew that they were loved unconditionally, always had been, and would be, and they no longer feared dying or the afterlife. The NDEers each had their own multifaceted experience with unique descriptions of purpose and benefits to their current personal life. I wanted to talk to them. Aware that someday life as we know it will end for ourselves and those we love, more evidence of what's next could be reassuring. I know I'd like to have a guarantee that dying's not horrible, that we'll be together again with loved ones, and that there is a peace ever after. My research began while book searching in Borders, remember 13 in Southfield? I encountered a woman studying the same section. She casually recommended an author that presented the NDE experience really well. It reminds me of my own. Shocked, I said, "You had one of those?" That's what I'm researching and planning to write about. But I've never met anyone that really had one. Would you be willing to chat with me? She enthusiastically agreed to share while we sat on chairs at the back of Borders for over 2 hours, while I took notes on the back of my checks. Sue described growing up in her multi-generational home with constant family turmoil and violence. She was often sick, suffering with multiple medical issues. She remembered at the age of 6, while hospitalized for a seizure, she experienced her one and only NDE. Prepped for surgery, gowned, covered with sheets, already anesthetized, suddenly, from the corner of the surgical suite ceiling, she saw her body lying on the bed. Keenly aware that she wasn't in any physical or emotional pain, then instantly, with no fear, a swish through a tunnel, quickly soaring in the light, and gently landing, standing up in a boat along a river's edge. Her beloved grandfather was smiling on the bank with arms wide open to greet her. For as far as she could see, there were hundreds of people. Family, she guessed. They were there, greeting her with words and vibes of love and care. Delighted, she began to step out of the boat to hug her grandfather. Startled to have him tell her, "No, you can't stay, Susie. It's not your time." Immediately, she began crying and pleading, her grandfather and the others calmly agreeing, "It's not your time." She knows that they told her she would return to stay. However, she reports never remembering when that would be. The greeters joined in reassuring her that she was dearly loved and that they were always with her. Crying, "You can't make me go back." She began jumping up and down in the boat. Then suddenly she said, "It felt like God's gentle hand was at the top of my head, pushing me down. It's not your time." Several days later, recovering, snuggled on the couch with her grandmother, looking at family picture albums, Sue was pointing out the names of several people she had seen while in the hospital. Her grandmother gasped when Sue told her that her grandfather, and everyone else was happy to see her. Alarmed, her grandmother made her promise never to tell anyone else, because they'll think you're crazy or something else. And Sue never did until her late teens. Sue's father had died in her mid-teens, and whenever she held his ring, she felt a strong connection to him. She became very curious about the psychic phenomena and paranormal activities. And that's when she began reading about NDEs. Sue then recalled her 6-year-old view from the ceiling corner of the surgical suite and the experience that followed. She knew that it was an NDE. Even decades later, in her mid-40s, she vividly recalled watching her body from above, feeling no pain, not being afraid, the light and the love. In the tunnel, the sheer joy of being with her grandfather and all the others who loved her and came to the bank to welcome her. Despite her intense temper tantrum, she believed the messages of love and assurance given, remembering the touch of the hand firmly pushing her down at the top of her head, calmly saying, "It's not your time." I asked how she believed the NDE impacted the person she was afterward, and still today. Because she was so young when it happened, she had no memory of being any different with regards to her nature or beliefs or behavior. She identified herself as being a loving, caring, generous, curious, intuitive woman. With study and practice, she had developed strong, verifiable psychic experiences, increasing in frequency for herself and when working with others. My boarder's encounter with Sue's generous sharing was a true gift. I quickly realized that the parameters of my research required a minimal age of 15 years to be able to verify, so that memories could be verified and feelings and possible changes after recovering from an NDE. Clearly, a young developing child had minimal history to recall or compare to. There is a verified impact of consequences NDEers described in my published dissertation. And still, I've never seen documented anywhere else what I discovered in researching and speaking to people were 3 40-ish women who independently and unsolicited described their own mutual loving relationship in a sexual intimate encounter. And that in that experience, they had a glimpse of the light. And at that moment, nothing else came, they would describe that nothing else had come close. My own interpretation was that perhaps these unique experiences described can be powerful evidence of possibilities when unconditional love is shared with generosity of both giving and receiving. The ability to be creators in our physical humanity is a significant way of knowing concrete possibilities of unconditional love that the light offers. Summarizing, my research still aligns with knowings studied today since ancient times and of indigenous people worldwide. Over recent decades, the major medical advances resulting in the recovery of NDEers is the major contributor to the surge of both medical documentation, research, and personal published accounts. Since 1995, when I first began, over 30 years ago, it continues to be an adventure of possibility. Dr. Melvin Morris, an acclaimed pediatrician, voted one of America's best doctors and a celebrated authority on the meaning of the near-death experience, states, "Perhaps it is only necessary for us to honor the basic principles of medical care, to listen to patients, and validate feelings and intuitions. The NDE experiences have the power to heal not only our patients, but also our society, which is grappling, well, yes, we are, with the limitations of medical technology and our culture's denial of the reality of death." So thank you for this opportunity to share with you the powerful meaning of a near-death experience. And available to you will be a sheet that will provide the common characteristics of a near-death experience, as well as the common consequences for it, and a list of references. So, thank you.
Please rise in body or spirit to sing hymn number 30 in the gray hymnal, Over My Head. This is an African-American spiritual that was, we believe, first sung in the 1750s, but was again popularized and recorded during the Civil Rights era. Over my head, I hear music in the air. Over my head, I hear music in the air. Over my head, I hear music in the air. There must be a God somewhere. Over my head, I hear singing in the air. Over my head, I hear singing in the air. Over my head, I hear singing in the air. There must be a God somewhere. Over my head, I see trouble in the air. Over my head, I see trouble in the air. Over my head, I see trouble in the air. There must be a God somewhere. Over my head, I feel gladness in the air. Over my head, I feel gladness in the air. Over my head, I feel gladness in the air. There must be a God somewhere. Over my head, I see angels in the air. Over my head, I see angels in the air. Over my head, I see angels in the air. There must be a God somewhere.
Many thanks to Jessica and Max for the beautiful music. Thank you. Go now into this world as a beacon of hope and joy. Go in love. Go in peace. Now that our worship has ended, our service begins. May it be so. Amen. Blessed be. Please remain seated for a time of personal reflection and a beautiful prelude.
bit out of order, we will now extinguish the chalice flame to the poem of Immortality by Richard Jefferies. It is eternity now. I am in the midst of it. It is about me in the sunshine. I am in it as the butterfly in the light-laden air. Nothing has to come. It is now. Now is eternity. Now is the immortal life.